Hello.
Hi, is this Cody?
This is Chelsea.
Hi. Yes, hi. It's so good to talk to you.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I want you to know I'm a huge fan of you already. So
Awesome.
I am secretly fangirling while interviewing you today.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you.
So how are you doing today? Are you doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing good. We've got some sunshine here in central Illinois. It feels good. It's warming up. It's not raining, so I'm in a good mood.
Very good. Yeah, I'm definitely excited that it's not raining today.
I know.
So let's just get the official introduction out of the way. Would you like to officially introduce yourself?
Yeah, this is folk singer Cody Diekhoff, a.k.a. Chicago Farmer.
So tell me about your background. You grew up in a small town. I can totally relate. I grew up on a goat farm. So
Wow. Awesome.
how did that shape you as an artist?
Yeah, I grew up in a town called Delavan, Illinois, which is in central Illinois, and at the time, I think it was 2,000 people, and now it's 1,700. So we lost about 300 people since I lived there. But it definitely shaped who I am for sure. Both sides of my family, both sets of grandparents were farmers. One set of the family were veterans, so I really grew up seeing my family work hard on the farm and put in long days, and that kind of hard work yet simple life really inspired me, I guess. When I was younger, it kind of seemed like a drag being in a small town, but
Yeah.
as I grew up and got older and look back on it now, it was a pretty great place to grow up.
That's like the quintessential small town life, I feel like, either farmers or war veterans.
Yeah, and, growing up, I couldn't wait to get out of there, and then I lived in Chicago for a decade, and I couldn't wait to get back. So
Yeah, that's usually how that works out.
Yeah.
So when you were younger, when you were growing up, was there anything else that you were like, this is what I want to be when I grow up? Or was it always music for you?
I love playing baseball. I still love baseball. It's one of the few sports that I'm still into and pay attention to. But really, it was just one day I was in study hall. We used to have study halls all the time because we ran out of classes, I guess, and teachers and funding. So we'd have these study halls, and I used to just sit there and daydream all the time. And one day I just kind of started writing, and the writing eventually kind of turned into poems, and then I got a guitar, and it kind of started turning into songs. And once I realized that I had a little bit of creativity in me, and that I had this other thing, that's pretty much all I focused on, like baseball, and everything else kind of went out the window, and I just basically focused everything I had on that writing and turning those writings into songs.
Do you remember the first song that you wrote?
So my mom actually found a notebook of like some really weird stuff that I was writing in study hall, and most parents would have found it and probably freaked out or put their kid in therapy, but my mom was like, well, it's weird, but it's really good. So she was really inspiring, and she really pushed me forward and told me to keep at it. So that was very inspiring. My parents have always been very supportive of everything that I do. So I can't remember the first song, but the first writings, but I'm sure it was weird and made up for sure. So
the weird and made up ones are the best ones, obviously.
Yeah. I think now I have more experience in my life, and I've traveled and experienced things. So a lot of it now is more real and nonfiction writing. But when you're getting started in high school in a small town, you're kind of daydreaming. So you got to use the imagination and get into the fiction quite a bit. So that's what I was doing at the time.
If your small town is like my small town, there's nothing but cornfields, maybe a grocery store parking lot that y'all would hang out at.
Exactly. Yep. We used to have a place called Four Corners. It was in the middle of town, and there were 4 benches on 4 corners, and that's where we would hang out and just sit all night. And then when we got tired of sitting all night, we would get in somebody's car and just drive around all night. And that's pretty much what we did.
I feel like I'm looking into my past. We would hang out at the Kroger parking lot
Yeah.
all night, just
Perfect.
What else do you got to do?
That sounds about right.
So who and what are your musical inspirations now?
Right now, my hero just passed away. His name was John Prine.
John
He
Prine,
was actually from Maywood, Illinois. And so I just love his songs, and a lot of his songs kind of bring me back to my small town. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, his songs just speak to me as a Midwesterner and as an Illinoisan. So I was very sad to see him go, but he's probably been my biggest inspiration for the last decade or so. And I've definitely tried to kind of carry the torch of his songwriting style and, just digging into issues that a lot of people don't think about and try to bring those to light.
No, I love that. I can definitely hear a little bit of John in your music.
Well, that means a lot.
I have seen you at music festivals. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of yours. Can you walk me through like a normal Chicago farmer performance day? Like, do you have any weird pre-show rituals, like things of that nature?
Not too much. I like to get there a little bit early. I'm probably like the only musician that's ever on time. I don't know. Most musicians roll in, pretty late or as late as they can. But I like to get there early. And if I'm playing a theater, I like to, really walk through the theater and learn about it a little bit. And I like to learn a little bit about each town that I'm in, because in my performances, I usually mention the name of the town about 8,000 times to try to, blend in and feel like I'm part of the local scene wherever I go. And festivals the same way too. I love the festivals because not only do you get to play, but you get to catch other bands and artists that you really love too. So I get there early and I just kind of scope out the place and see what's going on. And no really rituals before I go on stage. Just tell myself to make a fool out of myself, but not too much. Don't go overboard.
You don't have like a weird thing where you have to eat like 15 brown M&Ms right before you go on, or?
No, I'm pretty easygoing when it goes to all that stuff.
Really
My wife's a vegetarian, so we have to have one vegetarian meal in the rider when we travel around, and sometimes you get to certain areas that really throws people for a loop.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean she doesn't eat meat? And I'm like, well,
No, I totally.
I know it's odd, but she's my wife, she's my hero, so we got to get her a vegetarian meal, no matter what it costs. So
I love
that's
it.
That's the only demands that we have.
That's okay. Yeah. That's like the most modest demand I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, anywhere you go, you can whip up a salad or some tomatoes or something. Yeah.
A salad and tomatoes. Is that what you feed your wife?
No, she gets a little more than that, but I mean, it shouldn't be that hard. It's a lot easier than it used to be. I used to travel around and on the road, and you couldn't find anything vegetarian, so it's come a long way.
Yes. So tell me, how did you come up with Chicago Farmer?
So pretty much after I lived in that small town of Delavan and played every, bar and backyard and living room and garage, I moved to Chicago, and I kind of have a funny name. My name's Cody Diekhoff, which often would get misspelled on posters and get, just completely butchered wherever I would go. So I kind of wanted a stage name. And then I thought, well, now that I've lived in the small town of Delavan and I'm moving to Chicago, that's kind of both sides of Illinois, the top and the bottom. Mm-hmm. And that's what my songs are kind of leaning towards to being about. So I just kind of went with it. And, when I was moving to Chicago, one of my friends said I'd be like the urban cowboy, and that was already taken. So somebody said Chicago Farmer, and it just kind of stuck. And I was going to have a band called Chicago Farmer, but when I moved to Chicago, I had 6 roommates who were all musicians. And so I said, I'm going to go solo for a while to get away from these guys. And the name just stuck.
Six musicians living together, 7 musicians living together?
7 musicians and a couple girlfriends and, an occasional traveling musician that would stop by from time to time. It was a full house, but that's the only way we could afford to live in Wicker Park, Chicago at the time. So we made it work.
Yeah, I can't imagine why you wanted to go solo after that, huh?
Right? Yeah. But if you split Chicago rent 7 ways, it pretty much evens out to be like Central Illinois rent, really. So
that's true.
It worked out.
It's so true. Do you remember the first show that you played?
Ever or in Chicago?
Ever or in Chicago.
I remember the very first gig I ever played was at our Delavan Fall Festival in Delavan, Illinois. Mm-hmm. And there was a talent show. And there were 3 acts, and I was in a band called the Penal Codes, and we played a song. And then this little girl who was missing her front teeth sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And then these other guys did this thing where they shot mini marshmallows out of their nose across the stage.
What?
Into the other guy's mouth.
No.
Yeah, it was pretty disgusting, yes. And so the girl who sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, she went on to be on Star Search with Egg McMahon.
Okay.
And the 2 guys who shot the mini marshmallows out of their noses, they went on to be on Stupid Human Tricks on the David Letterman show. I kid you not. This is completely true. And so me and my band, we got 3rd place. We got beat by both of those folks.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
I mean, I love you as a musician, but I'd have to say people shooting mini marshmallows out of their nose and catching them in other people's mouths.
I know, it's pretty amazing, right? We were pretty impressed, actually. We were upset that we got beat by the Somewhere Over the Rainbow girl, but we kind of understood why we got beat by the mini marshmallow guys.
It had to have been a really tough competition in that talent show.
Yeah, it really was. And to get 3rd place out of that scene was pretty rough. And it was always my dream. It was my dream to be like the first person from my town on the Letterman show. And I totally got beat out by those marshmallow guys. So still pretty devastated, but I'm starting to get over it like 20 years later.
Grieving takes time.
Exactly. Yeah. And then my first paid gig was in my hometown too, and I remember they offered me like $50, all the beer I could drink, and all I could eat catfish to play the gig.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I was like, yes. I was like, I've made it, and I felt like a rock star. And but when I got there, I asked them how long they wanted me to play, and they said they wanted me to play for like 4 hours. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I think I only had like 10 songs, so I had to think of something fast. So I had already drinking a few beers and had the catfish dinner, so I couldn't back out. So I had to like start improvising, and that's kind of where I started improvising and telling stories in between songs and getting people to sing along, was because I only had 10 songs to fill 4 hours. So those are my early day stories.
Those 2 stories are some of the most small town stories I've ever heard. I feel like I grew up in your small town.
All right. I feel like some people are kind of posers when they say they're from a small town, but I feel like I'm pretty legit a small town guy with some real small town stories.
You sound real small town with those small town stories, and that's not a bad thing.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk to you about the past year and how COVID has kind of like hit you with your music, since live music wasn't really a thing for a very long time.
Sure.
How did that affect you?
Yeah, it's been really rough. I'm fortunate, not as rough as some, but it's definitely been a struggle. I put out an album in early 2020, and so to put out that album in 2020, I pretty much spent all of 2019 prepping for 2020, you know, making the album and then doing like the publicity push and, you know, buying all the vinyl and the CDs and publicity and a radio campaign. So really I spent all of 2019 preparing for 2020. And I was fortunate to get out and play in January and February and part of March. And then when everything shut down, it was just, it was definitely a struggle. And I felt like we were really making a lot of progress, like even selling out some shows and really getting the name out there. And then it all just came to a halt. So it's been rough, but fortunately the Chicago Farmer following is small but mighty. And I have a lot of support from people, and I was, you know, able to survive and scrape by. So we're still here. We're still getting at it. It's coming back slowly but surely, and you know, we're finally starting to get back in action.
We love to hear that, and that's why I'm talking to you, because we want to get your name out there more, not only because I'm a huge fan, but because you grew up like an hour and a half from where we're at. So, you know, and you play where we are often around this area. So are there any shows that you would like to promote that are coming up, maybe?
Oh, man, yeah, I have quite a few. I was just played in Distill Brewery in Normal last weekend, and that was like the first hometown show back. We're playing a few festivals coming up, albeit Summer Camp Festival with the band in August, and Shoe Fest, which is in Manteno, Illinois, over Labor Day. And I think we're going to be announcing a few dockside shows there in Ottawa, which isn't too far from you, at the end of June, which I always love playing along the riverfront over there. It's always a good time. So, but yeah, you can go to chicagofarmer.com and see where I'll be playing. And I'm so excited to get back at it. I've done a couple private shows and a couple real shows this year, outside and distance in the last couple weeks, and it's felt like starting to feel like getting back to normal. So
feeling like yourself again.
Yeah, it was really it was nervous, but it felt great. You know, I call it it's like riding a bike down a steep hill without brakes. That's what I felt like when I was getting back to this job of playing music that I've been doing for so long. When I got back at it this last couple of weeks.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad that you're, you know, getting back at it. Who has been one of your favorite artists to perform with?
Probably Todd Snyder. He's also a troubadour and a folk singer, who's kind of also in that following the footsteps of the John Prines and the Arlo Guthries and things like that. Todd is an amazing songwriter, and whenever I get to play with him, I learn so much. You know, I get to play my set, and then I get to turn around and watch this guy who's been doing it even longer than I have, and he's, in my opinion, he's kind of the best traveling folk singer and troubadour out there right now. And you know, just like packing a big theater on a Monday night and getting people that just love to come listen to songs and love to sing along and love to take part in, you know, all the great things that go along with a folk show and a singer-songwriter show. So he's been very good to me over the years, and definitely somebody I consider a hero. And through the whole pandemic, I've been playing every Tuesday night, like into the phone for like a virtual concert, and he's been doing every Sunday. And so watching him play on my phone or my computer on Sundays has really gotten me through the pandemic, along with, you know, so many other artists that I've watched adapt just to make sure that we're all still getting our fill of some music any way we possibly can.
That's so cool. You have like a little a family of musicians to make sure that like everyone's kind of looking out for each other.
Yeah, and we've been traveling all over the country. A lot of my favorite artists are right here in Illinois, but we're fortunate to know so many great ones, you know, all over the country. And so even though we couldn't get in our vehicles and travel to gigs, people were still playing online and virtually, and it helped fill the void for sure. It's not the same, but it helped. It definitely helped.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's great. Has there ever been a time in your career that you've thought that you've just had enough and you kind of just want to walk away from music, or?
Like any job, it can kind of get a little bit monotonous, you know. A lot of people think that it's just, you know, that time when you're on stage, but there's so much more that goes into it. And there was a time where I was starting to have a little bit of success, and I felt like I was kind of starting to go through the motions a little bit, and maybe it was getting a little monotonous. Just, you know, me taking the stage with my guitar and my harmonica and a lot of the same songs and stories that I've been doing for so long. And that was kind of the last thing I ever wanted, was to get comfortable and start feeling like I was going through the motions. And so that was around the time where I was like, well, I decided I was going to start a band. So, and that's really been great for me to really mix things up, you know. So just me taking the stage with just me and my guitar, and me taking the stage with the 4-piece band, it's a completely different show, and it's really helped me kind of expand my music and try different things. And instead of going through the motions, now I'm going through all these kind of experimental things that I've always wanted to do, and I finally found the courage to just do it. So now you can see Chicago Farmer by myself, or you can see Chicago Farmer with a band. It just depends on where we're at or what we're feeling, but it's definitely helped me mix it up and helped me inspired me, you know, to keep going, keep pushing on in different directions.
Yeah, you by yourself and you with the band are almost two completely different sounds almost.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And the band mixes it up a lot too. We're a little bit rock and roll, we're a little bit bluegrass, we're a little bit country honky tonk, we're a little bit have a little bit of a louder side to us too. So there's all kinds of different aspects. We're a little bluesy, we're a little folky. So try to bring out everything that's inspired me over my career, and put it all into this band and then we kind of reflect everything, all of our influences, and put it out into our shows and our music that we make. So it's been great. Sure, yeah. Our rhythm section was in a jug band before, so they can play all kinds of different instruments. Our drummer plays drums and keyboards at the same time, and he also plays mandolin while he kicks the kick drum. And Jake Willis our guitar player, plays all kinds of different guitars: electric, acoustic, slide guitar. So we have lots of toys. We fill them all in our van. We call our van Barbara Streisand's van. And that's how we travel around, is in Barbara Streisand's van. And we fill it up with all the instruments and toys that we can possibly put in it. Anything that'll fit, we'll bring it to the show and play it, pretty much.
I should have guessed it was something super punny like that.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's so many. Every band has a van name, but I think that one's pretty good. I don't like to toot our own horn, but I think that's top 10. Come on.
That one's one of the better ones that I've heard. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Cody, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but thank you so much for talking with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I can't wait to be back in the area. I love Dockside, also love Tangled Roots, and there in LaSalle, we've had some really nice times at the Uptown Grill, and hoping to get back to all the hot spots there in the area as soon as we can.
Yeah. Do you want to promote your recent album, I guess, since we've got you right now?
Yes. The most recent one is called Flyover Country, and you can find it at chicagofarmer.com. We have a page on the website called The Farmer's Market, and that's where you can find Chicago Farmer gear and albums and CDs, and we even have vinyl. So it's called Flyover Country. You can find it at chicagofarmer.com, and I like our shows. There's there's not one sound through the whole album. It's all kinds of different genres and different vibes happening. So I think there's definitely a couple songs on there that something for everybody on the album. So hope folks can check that out.
Thank you for talking with me today, Cody. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate talking to you.